This is the James Golden Show with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends, to the Saturday Vibe here. James Golden with you. Bo Snerdley, 800-848-9222 is how you reach us, 800-848-9222. For the next 3 hours, it's you and I. Would love to hear what you are thinking about, what is on your mind today. Coming up later on the program, as always, well, as mostly always, Red Apple, a media anchor, Lizzie Arradabali, will join us later in the program. Princess Diana is on the third week of her royal vacation, visiting all the provinces, territories, and lands under her rule. She's expected to be back on Monday. Now, I must make note that all of her ladies in waiting have disappeared. Lady Benedict, who continually sticks little tweak knives in my back when I disagree with Princess Diana, has conveniently vacated. She's over in Europe somewhere. She and Sir Bruce. The Countess of Conspiracy is nowhere to be found. They have all disappeared. All of them. Rhonda Schrock, America's Small Caffeinated Mom, although not an official lady in waiting, has sometimes joined in. Now, Rhonda, we will hear from a little bit later. She has pre-recorded a message for us, and I previewed it, ladies and gentlemen, as a good and able host would do, and it is very encouraging. It's a message of truth. And this is indeed the week of truth. As some of you may know that have been following this show, our very own Princess Diana, 2 years ago, opined that Joe Biden would not be the nominee. In that, she was right. She also opined that this week coming, we would see something that has not been seen before. We would see the Democrat Party leadership usurped, and that Michelle Obama would be installed as the new nominee to go up against Donald Trump. I immediately objected and said, that's just not going to happen. And for the past 2 years, Princess Di and her ladies in waiting have been needling your host. Conveniently, in the past 3 weeks, all of them have disappeared. Once Kamala Harris became installed. This is the week coming that it will be official as the DNC prepares to meet in Chicago. And Chicago looks like it will be quite a gathering. In fact, we have news of that. There are some shops that are already preparing. News reports indicate that in Chicago, as we speak, store owners are preparing for the DNC arrival. In fact, on X this morning, there was a report from a WGN reporterette talking about how the city is preparing for the arrival. Diego, do we have that? The young lady that's speaking about how they're preparing in Chicago. Let's listen in, ladies and gentlemen, to this news reporterette. It was posted on the social media platform X. How Democrats, how the locals are preparing themselves for the arrival of the Democrats in Chicago.
we are on Washington and Wabash outside of the Garland building, which houses a number of businesses, including stores and some restaurants and offices. Now, as you can see behind me, you'll notice that the front of the Garland building is covered in plywood. It's basically covering the windows and the door, and that's to be able to protect the building, and I should say the entrance of the building, from any potential unrest that could happen ahead of the once the DNC does come around here, since we are anticipating some protests to take place. Now, the Chicago Board of Services says their crews have been busy the last few days boarding up businesses to get ahead of potential damages. Now, so far they've secured 12 locations around the West Loop, downtown, and Daly Plaza area, with plans to board up additional businesses this weekend as a preventative measure if protests related to the DNC erupt violently.
Well, what do you know? Chicago officials are busy helping businesses board up their locations. Why? Because the Democrats are coming. It's like modern-day Paul Revere. The Democrats are coming. The Democrats are board up your businesses, ladies and gentlemen. This could be worse than a Category 5 hurricane. Board up anything that could potentially be broken by the scammers, the looters, the rioters, the arsonists. Democrats are on the way into town. Democrats own Chicago, of course, so we should say more Democrats are coming into town. That is pretty amazing stuff. Yes. Now, there's also been news. Oh, I do have a related story about that. I'll have to see if I can find it very quickly. About the Democrats coming as concerned students. Here it is. I found it. This is from ABC News. With more than 50,000 people estimated to descend on Chicago next week for the Democratic National Convention, the city says it is prepared to make sure the week is a success, not just for visitors, but for city residents themselves. Now, the headline tells a different story. As Chicago braces for DNC, concerns over safety mount. Now, I, along with many others from Red Apple Media, went to the Republican National Convention, beautiful state of Wisconsin. You know what? There were no businesses boarded up. In fact, the only incident I saw that was a little bit odd was some little Karen type a worker at a Subway location refused to serve some Christian guys because she didn't like the T-shirt that they were wearing. And that was the only little incident that I saw that was kind of out of the ordinary with businesses. All the businesses were wide open. Nobody was boarding up stores. Nobody was boarding up their businesses because the Republicans were coming to town. So, what are we to make? Here's another headline, ladies and gentlemen. This one in the Daily BS this morning. Anti-Israel student groups plan to protest DNC. Democrats have failed us. Well, if we're going to talk about Democrats failing people, you have a whole country to... I digress. Several anti-Israel student groups are planning to protest outside the DNC convention next week. National Students for Justice in Palestine, as well as several other anti-Israel groups, are co-sponsoring March on the DNC 2024, a coalition of groups. In addition, for calling for the federal government to stop arming and supporting Israel, is also demanding the following. I love this. This is typical of these protest groups. There's always a lengthy demand list. Now, the students that are showing up, the anti-Israeli, or I should say the pro-Hamas students, are also demanding money for jobs, school, healthcare, housing, and environment, not for war. They want immigrant rights and legalization for all. In other words, the 11 million illegal immigrants that have crossed the border since Joe Biden came into office, and all of the illegals that were here before, should be given legalization, meaning citizenship. Never mind your laws, never mind that they broke the laws. Legalization for all. They also want the DNC to defend LGBTQIA+ and reproductive rights. Big story today, Supreme Court and Title IX. We will get to that. They want to defend the right to unionize and strike. They also want to stop police crimes. They want community control of police now! Exclamation point. They want justice, peace, and equality. That is another of the Manifesto Islands. They want justice, peace, and equality. And if they don't get it, they'll burn down everything in sight. A pro-Palestinian student group in Massachusetts is also, by the way, using, this is a related story to this, readings from Lenin, Stalin, and a Palestinian terrorist hijacker. They're holding a summer camp. I don't know whether we'll have time to get to that. Anyway, the students descending on Chicago say, we condemn the Democrat Party for promoting wars in Palestine, Ukraine, and countries all over the world, and for strangling dozens of countries with illegal sanctions that affect over 2 billion people. United States economic and military interests are behind the genocide in Gaza and are threatening war on China. The U.S. military, these students say, the U.S. military puts the entire world in danger of war and targets people's movements like in the Philippines and Colombia, the groups wrote. The stunning thing about it is that these are college students. This display of ignorance is after they've already been through 12 years of government schooling and are now in college. You know, yesterday was an amazing day in music. It was the anniversary of Elvis Presley's death, the king of rock and roll. And it was also the anniversary of the death of the Queen of soul, Aretha Franklin, who takes us in to our first Profit Center break. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you. 800-848-9222. I love this line. Here it is. Oh, what's a woman's duty, Queen? Yes, child. Sing it, baby. That's the way.
Oh, but
This is the James Golden Show. James Golden Show. 4 words that mean business. With James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
I think you're right, Diego. We're trying to figure out how to pronounce her last name, whether it's Carlisi or Carlisle. Belinda Carlisle, singer from the Go-Go's, has a birthday today, if we got her name right. 1982. This one was huge. We got the beat. And so happy birthday, Belinda, with the Go-Go's. James Golden with you, Bo Snerdley, here our Saturday morning vibe. If you want to be part of it, 800-848-9222 is the number to reach us. So the Supreme Court, on vacation themselves, I wonder if Princess Di or the ladies in waiting will run into any of the Supreme Court members while they're out touring the world, avoiding the reality that is coming this week. And yes, I am going to gloat. The Supreme Court, on vacation this week, has struck down a Joe Biden Kamala Harris. Did I say her name right? Kamala, because there was a huge, we're going to play it again. There was a huge, in fact, we'll play it now and we'll get back to Title IX. There was a huge upset. Nancy Mace was on one of the liberal news networks, I think it was CNN, and she mispronounced the name of Kamala Harris. And this, my friends, is what happened.
That sounds like self-hatred and justification of white supremacy. And let me just say this.
What?
Because this congresswoman is a wonderful human being. But when you disrespect Kamala Harris by saying you will call her whatever you want, I know you don't intend it to be that way. That's the history and legacy of white disregard for the humanity of black people.
Oh, so now you're calling me racist.
I didn't say. I just said you weren't a racist.
That is complete.
No, you don't have to intend racism to
No. You are intending that I am
your disrespect of Kamala Harris.
What?
Part and parcel of a disrespect.
I think they're angry.
Why can't you just? I'm
not calling you a racist. I'm telling you what the practice is.
You are. You absolutely are.
You absolutely are calling me a racist. No, I'm not. Yes, you are.
That is your disrespect of her.
Professor.
This gentleman said,
I didn't know her name. He's trying to do it. Is her disrespect of women. She doesn't know what a woman is. And if 25 years ago,
white women don't have the ability to tell black women who paid the price of blood to make this country what it is to tell them they're not real
white women don't have the. White women can't say anything of black women. They paid the price of blood.
I became the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the military college of South Carolina. I fought my way through it.
So pronounce her name right.
Let me actually
pronounce her name right.
Kamala Harris. If
Kamala.
I were a man,
you said we don't call you Nancy.
It's
Kamala.
You're doing this on purpose, Congresswoman.
That's disrespectful.
You can't expect people to respect your service if you don't respect her.
Oh, can you believe this? You're a white woman. How dare you mispronounce her name? It's Kamala. Look, I'm sorry. I've been calling her Kamala for years, and I meant no disrespect. That's the way her name looks if you went hooked on phonics, for goodness sakes. It's an innocent mistake a lot of people make. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you. 800-848-9222. We'll be back. Don't go away. Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
So we'll celebrate it today for American singer and actress Sarah Dash. Sarah Dash, one of the three members of LaBelle. Of course, Patti LaBelle. The other two members, Nona Hendrix, and the beautiful, voluptuary Sarah Dash. Sarah Dash passed away 2021, very unexpectedly. 1975, this was at number 1 in the United States of America. We have, yes, I know, and I will get to the Title IX case in the Supreme Court, but we have a telephone call, and we have calls in, and if you're on hold, please be patient. I'm going to grab your calls. But we have one I must take right away. I cannot let this get away. I have to see whether this is real or someone's pulling a prank on me. I will tell you what the subject line reads. The subject line says, Joe Biden has been the best president ever. Patricia in New Jersey, welcome. You're on with James Golden, Bo Snerdley. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine.
Good. Now, you have to tell me, are you pranking me or is this real?
No, I really feel this is real. But he didn't finish my sentence, okay? Much like they do to Donald Trump. I said he's been the most successful because he has taken us from a constitutional republic to a third world nation. Nobody else has been able to do that before.
All right. For a moment, I thought you were actually going to say that Joe Biden has been a great president. Now, you say that Joe Biden has taken us to a constitutional republic to a third world nation. Explain what you mean by that.
Okay, we used to be a constitutional republic. And if you remember, Obama's big thing was he wants to fundamentally transform America. He was not able to do that in 8 years.
Obama did a lot of transformational things. Look, we're living with one of the biggest ever that concerns 1/6 of our economy. And that would be Obamacare. And we forget now because we've been living with it, and this is the way the Democrats implement. This Obamacare was a huge change in America, and it transformed the health care landscape, and it was built on lies. The lie that your costs would go down. Healthcare costs have done nothing but rise ever since Obamacare was implemented. They were rising before, in all fairness. Also, all these changes that were supposed to make life easier. Remember all that good stuff? All the records were supposed to be digitally so we wouldn't have to. Every time you go to a doctor, you're still spending 20 minutes with the intake form, sometimes a half an hour. They tell you, get there early because you've got so much paperwork to do. None of that changed. Then, of course, the big lie about if you love your doctor, you love your plan, you can keep your plan. The plans that you loved in those days don't even exist anymore, for the most part. So it has fundamentally changed America, and that's just one. One of the other things that the Obama administration did was make sure that we cozied up with Iran, and that is still transforming the world. So to say that Obama Obama did a fair amount of damage during his time, but I understand your point. Now, let's go back to Biden. So how did Biden change this country from a constitutional republic into, as you say, a third world nation?
Well, he's been working on the Constitution and trying to do away, and he's been pretty successful with the First Amendment. We almost never have free speech any longer, especially not with this biased press.
Well, okay. Now, hold on a minute. I'm gently going to push back on a few things. free speech is under attack. There is no question. It is under attack in also our private lives. If you, for instance, misgender someone, a term that we did not even know, even back when Obama was in office. In some places, people are being sanctioned with the ability to work because there are new rules about what you can say and what you can't say. On social media, there are still people that are having their voices censored. Let's not forget what happened during the pandemic, where even doctors, people that have spent their whole life in the field of medicine, were no longer able to speak freely and offer their opinions if they were contrary to the narrative that was coming from government. So yes, free speech is definitely under attack. But look at this. We're sitting here talking about it. That's free speech. And we still have the ability to do that, at least in portion. Okay, your turn.
Okay, I agree with that. We are speaking right now, but there's no guarantee that if this is heard by someone, that someone's not going to come knocking on my door and arrest me for doing this.
There is a guarantee. Let me say this. There is a guarantee about that. Now, there's no guarantee that somebody might not come knock on your door and say, you were on talk. But the constitutional right to speak freely is still. That is something that would elevate through the court system, and hopefully you would find, look at what we've had. The Democrats have tried to overturn the one that they really hate, the Citizens United case. It said political speech is also can be represented with money. So you can donate to the candidate of your choice, and you can donate amounts that you choose in some cases. Still in existence. You look at some of the cases that have come up, these outrageous cases in Colorado, where you had bakers that were trying to be forced to bake cakes with messages that violated their religious principles. Supreme Court ruled against that multiple times because the people there just kept trying to knock at the door. What I'm trying to tell you, all I'm trying to say, Patricia, look, I understand your concerns, and I take them very seriously. But I don't think that we are at the point yet where we can say that free speech is gone in this country, that religious liberties are gone. They are under threat, and we have to fight to maintain them. And we will have to fight to maintain them. And then you can look at our economic freedoms, and our economic freedoms are, you have mandates, for instance, coming from California that you have to buy an electric car by this date or that date, or you won't be able to purchase the vehicle of your choice. You have mandates coming in. They don't like the liberals don't like your appliances because they run on natural gas or propane gas or whatever, liquid gas, whatever it is. They're demanding you go electric with that. So yes, these things we are in an ongoing battle for the freedoms that we hold dear. But the country is not lost yet, and that's the only point that I'm really trying to make. I think we should still be optimistic. I think we should not be overly pessimistic that all is gloom and doom already. This is a fight that we're going to have to stay engaged in. And you know what? After we go on to the reward, our children, their children, and their children, and on the line, will have to do the same thing. Because the intention of the left, the intention of socialists, the intention of communists, the intention of anarchists, they don't like freedom. They believe that they should be in control their way of the highway. So all I'm trying to say is that it's an ongoing fight, and we're in the middle of it. But we shouldn't think things are worse than they actually are At the same time, we need to be aware of exactly what the threat is that we have to face. I'll give you the last word.
Unfortunately, our children being indoctrinated to accept this new lifestyle, shall we say, the acceptance of the fact that the government runs your life, and that's okay. And so I really worry that if we don't fight back now, and I don't see enough fight back, that's my problem. I don't see enough pushback. At least they're not vocal about it, that I see. So that's why I'm worried right now, because I don't think if we lose, then there is no further generations fighting back.
Okay, let me just say this. We have a lot of things that we did not have on, quote unquote, the conservative side, the opposition side, however you want to call it. There is an organization out there, TPUSA, for instance, Charlie Kirk and his group, that have reached millions of young people on the right. That wasn't in existence before. You have young people. You have a generation of Rush babies out here. I hear from them. Kids that grew up listening to Rush because their parents were listening. And they are active. I think it's easy because you're so right about the mainstream press. They have such power to shape opinion. And this is a real fight that we're in. It is a real fight. But I think sometimes we don't understand our own power and the own power and the power that we have to push against what we see the outrages are. We are pretty much a divided nation, which is why these elections have been so close. And this is not the first period in American history where that's happened. We went through a 100-year cycle that culminated in the 1800s of a divided country where it was almost divided politically, 50-50, very close. And this is a long cycle that we are in the middle of. But I will just say, again, don't lose hope. The ideas of freedom, of liberty, the things that we're talking about here, these are ideas that have now gone through over, let me see, 12, 1, 2, 6, 8. Look, let me put it like this. The birth of the ideas that America came into being began in earnest with the signing of the Magna Carta in England in 1215, or very close, 1215. It took 300 years before some of those ideas began to flourish in ways that were recognizable in England. Our nation isn't 300 years old yet. This is a battle of centuries. It is not a battle of 1, 2, 3 election cycles. So it is our duty to maintain the fight, is my message. We got to go. James Golden, a.k.a. Snerdley here. Diego, who's this and why?
Ladies and gentlemen, good to be with you on a Saturday for a change. It's been a while since I've been with you, Bo, on a Saturday. This is More Than a Feeling by Boston in honor of Mr. Sebastian Drums with Boston. They have sold more than 75 million records worldwide, including 31 million albums in the United States, of which 17 million were from their self-titled debut album, which, by the way, was recorded in Boston by like a couple of the members. Well, like they lied to the record company that said they were in LA, and that was and it was recorded in a basement. So that was
wow.
That's one of my favorite facts of music. Born today, Mr. Sib Hashian in 1949. Happy birthday.
Absolutely. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you. 800-848-9222. Coming back. Stay with us.
So many people have come and gone. Their faces fade as the years go by. Yet I still recall as I wander on, as clear as the sun in the summer sky.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Birthday today. Well, actually, not birthday. Exit day for Purvis Jackson. Passed away on this day in 2008. Actually, tomorrow. This weekend. Was a member of the Spinners, of course. Now, this is one of the Spinner sounds. You know, the Spinners started out with Motown. And they, in fact, one of the hits in 1970, they had a huge hit that Stevie Wonder produced for them, It's a Shame. And Stevie wrote that, It's a Shame, with the Spinners. They've had so many different sounds. So this is one from the 80s, the disco era. This one was produced, written by Stevie Wonder. Another sound of the Spinners. It's a Shame. This was summer 1970. I was in summer school when this was out. That's why I remember it.
The pesky algebra?
Yeah, my attempts to pass algebra in summer school. So that's another sound of the Spinners. And then came the Tom Bell years. They went from that sound to this beautiful, lush orchestration produced by one of the world's most incredible conductors, songwriters, and producers, Tom Bell of the Spinners. Title of this one, of course, Just As Long As We Have Love. Dionne Warwick is singing with them on this. They did a few duets with Dionne Warwick.
Just the two of us now.
Spinners, James Golden, Bo Snerdley on our Saturday morning vibe. Glad you're here with us. We are going to get to the Title IX decision, I promise, coming in the next hour and more of your calls. I want to go back briefly and just talk about this subject that came up. I've been spending a lot of time lately just going back and reading and watching documentaries on the Magna Carta and its impact. 1215. So you have a bunch of nobles who are trying to have what would be the beginning of their freedom from the monarchy. At least we're not just vassals of the state. We have rights. And we have rights that are inherent rights. And that Magna Carta spelled out some of those rights. Now, if you go through it and you read it, some of it doesn't seem too germane. But from that document sprung the idea that people, as individuals, have a right. That didn't come overnight either. For a while, it was just assumed this is for the noble class, for the elites. But the document, which had been reaffirmed since by several kings as they sought favor, as they began their reigns of power, did eventually, and we're talking the course of centuries, lead to some very fundamental ideas. That people had rights with their property, that people had a right to be represented before taxes were levied upon them, that people's rights came from God, and the king did not have absolute power over their lives. Eventually, this spread to the idea that scientific inquiry was not determined by the order of religion. For a very long time in history, you could practice, but if you contradicted church teachings, you were done. Remember the lessons of Galileo. These things, all of these concepts, many of which wound up in the Declaration of Independence and in the United States Constitution, took a period of centuries to unfold. We are in a battle for the heart and soul of liberty and freedom in this country. It will not be determined in one election cycle. We have been through numerous election cycles already fighting this battle. And we are going to be in for more generations of this fight. We have to stay vigilant, but we cannot afford to lose hope when it looks like things are not going our way. We're coming back. Hour number one in the can, hour number two coming up. Keep it right here.
This is the James Golden Show with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends, to our number a duo here on the James Golden Show, a.k.a., of course, Bo Snerdley. You are quite welcome to weigh in at any point during the program at 800-848-9222. That's how you reach us, 800-848-9222. Right now, something I look forward to whenever she's here, which is most weeks, Red Apple news anchor Lizzie Aradaboli. Lizzie, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning, Bo. I'm doing great. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. You know, a little birdie told me, and I don't know whether this is true, that you might have travel plans in your future.
I do. I'm going over to Chicago on Tuesday.
Oh, well. Oh, so you're going to be in Chicago when the Democrats arrive.
Yes, yeah. I'm going to be covering the DNC for Red Apple Media, so make sure to stay tuned. Follow us on social media, WABC Radio. We're going to be, talking to a lot of people there, so I'm real excited.
That is excellent news. And, of course, I look forward to seeing what you come up with in terms of good audio and visuals for all of us to have fun with. You sent me a story this week that is a nightmare story.
Yes.
It's a nightmare. There is no, if you had to think of all the procedures that you don't want something to go wrong with, all the procedures that you could possibly have in life, that you could say, I hope this goes okay. Lizzie, when a person is told, you're at that age now, you do need you need to get your colonoscopy. Those are frightening words. You're young. You just wait. You'll find out.
I know. I don't have that dread yet. I don't have that dread.
Yes, but sooner than you know it, the dread will be upon you too.
I'm not looking forward to that.
I don't blame you. And I speak from experience. This story is frightening. I don't want to tell us about the story, Lizzie. Just tell us what happened here.
Yeah, so a Florida patient is complaining because his doctor took off his hearing aids, or, he just wasn't wearing them. And the doctor could not hear the patient's screams of pain while he was doing this colonoscopy. He was in pain and screaming, and the doctor had no idea because he could not hear him.
Okay, now, number one, first question up, why was he still awake? Most of the time, you have an anesthesiologist. They will put you to sleep during this procedure, or at least the twilight zone, so you're not feeling the thing. So he was awake, apparently, and he was in pain, as one might expect when an intrusive device is placed where devices are not normally placed. So what's going to happen here with this case?
Yeah, well, it's not really clear the next steps. The doctor has not actually commented on this case. An emergency restriction order was placed on the doctor for a second. He was actually getting ready to perform a second procedure after this first one went so bad, and then they said, "Hold up, you cannot do that after this huge debacle." So the hospital administration has been present in the room now, and they've been telling people like, "Oh."
So wait a minute. So now when this guy gets ready to do, so he was stopped from doing the second one, but from what you're telling me, now they have to have other people in the room looking when he's about to do the thing.
He's actually now, he has been placed on probation because of those complaints. He was actually,
probation.
Yes, and he was fined a pretty big amount. He was fined $7,500, which I guess, might not be that much if you're a doctor, but...
It might not be that much if you're the patient. And you're like, I'm screaming because this guy has done this to my hiney. And he hurt my hiney.
Yeah.
And then $7,500, that's it?
Tough go for that tush. It's tough.
That doesn't, yes.
Yeah, and
doesn't even begin.
No, and he also apparently has to take a 5-hour education course on medical laws and rules and ethics. Yeah, and he has a deadline of doing that of next year, actually, next August, 2025. So, it's basically like he's kind of getting off with a slap on the wrist. Like he's just has to do the equivalent of like a safe driving course when you get into an accident to get that insurance discount.
Oh, boy. Meanwhile, Lizzie, you've been following this case of the Detroit judge?
Yes, no, I have. That's been going very viral on Twitter, or X. I still call it Twitter, but it's been getting a lot of buzz on Twitter because a lot of people are just like, what? Like, why? How could you even do something like this? Especially because this judge was on camera doing this. So this judge has also been receiving death threats after detaining a teen for sleeping in his courtroom.
Okay, so let's explain what happened here. The young lady is a teenager. She ended up in the courtroom not through some misdeed of hers, but this was like a class trip or something, right?
Yes, it was a field trip with this nonprofit that they were, kind of just getting an inside look on how the courts process. It was with the Greening Project. It's a specific nonprofit that looks towards green infrastructure in the city. So a lot of the work they do is...
So a bunch of environmentalist wackos decided to take...
They plant trees. I think that's a good deed. I think that planting trees is a positive thing. I think we should applaud them.
Planting trees too, but I'm just saying a bunch of environmentalist wackos went into court. They said, okay, since you're going to be spending time in court suing people the rest of your life for the environment, you might as well get to know what a court looks like. So they haul the little kids into court and say, okay, here's what a court looks like. Get used to it. You're going to be spending a lot of time here suing business owners and suing people that are trying to actually put up buildings and develop, and people that want to have the freedom to have their appliances and so forth. You're going to be fighting them all. So here's where it's going to happen. So they take the kids to court. I think I have it right.
I mean, if that is their end goal, I'm not sure. I think that they were, probably just giving the kids, a change of pace and an official look at something, especially something so complicated as the court system. I mean, you kind of have to get familiar with the legal workings.
Yeah, you have to get familiar. That's what I said. You have to get familiar where you're going to be spending most of your life fighting people that want their freedom.
Well, this judge took freedom. He took that freedom, and he actually decided to put that in his own hands of this 15-year-old girl who was on this
15-year-old girl.
15, yes, she's 15, and she's on this field trip.
She was falling asleep in his courtroom. So what did he do to her?
Yeah, so we actually have audio from that incident. It's cut number 3. Let's hear that judge.
You fall asleep in my courtroom one more time, I'm putting you in the back, understood? One thing you'll learn about my courtroom is that I am not a toy. I'm not to be played with. I'm going to go to sleep tonight while you're sitting in the juvenile detention facility.
Yeah, and that was all because he said he didn't like her attitude. That's Judge Kenneth King of the 36th District over in Detroit. He has also been placed on kind of suspension. He's been removed from the docket. So, there are consequences now for this judge. And he even said that he felt like that he was right to do this. That's cut number 1. Can we hear from the judge?
That's not something that normally happens, but I felt compelled to do it because I didn't like the child's attitude. I haven't been disrespected like that in a very long time.
All we know is, look, I'm just going to be I know I'm not ever the devil's advocate, but I'm going to be the advocate for being an adult having to deal with nasty children once in a while and their attitudes. Do we know that all she did was fall asleep, or did she mouth off in some way to this judge?
We have video footage. She did not even speak a word or raise her voice. The judge even said that he felt disrespected by her body language. So, a little bit ridiculous. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, I know you want to defend this judge and say,
I'm just axing.
these snotty-nosed kids, screw them. But I mean, I will say for this girl, something of note that people have now discovered, the mother has come out and said that this teen is traumatized because she was left in a courtroom. She had to be put in handcuffs, and she also wore the jail garb that they wear.
Yeah, they dressed her up in orange.
Yeah, and she's 15 years old. They luckily they put her in an empty room, but there's no way of knowing if that room had any cameras, if they have video footage of this minor changing. They don't even know. And on top of that, this family, this teen girl, doesn't have a permanent residence. Her and her mother have been bouncing around. So maybe they're tired because they don't have an actual place to live. This is not something that I think, it's just a horrible, tragic story.
You sound a little passionate there, Lizzie.
I feel horrible for this 15-year-old girl. I can't imagine bouncing from house to house, and in your free time, you're committed to the environment, committed to planting trees around your local neighborhood. A lot of the work they do is community, in beauty enrichment projects. They put flower beds out and around in Detroit, and, I think that's good work. I think we should be supporting people.
I do, too. I do. I'm not kidding. I'm not being facetious. I think that's great work. I think beautifying one's community is wonderful, and I applaud that 100%. And as you say, if the girl didn't mouth off at the judge, and you say the video shows she wasn't mouthing off at the judge, she wasn't giving him any lip, it's outrageous, which is why I guess that he was taken off the bench, the docket for right now.
Yeah, and it's just like a lot of people online have been talking about power dynamics and how, these people, is this judge just, power hungry, and was he just using this to take advantage of this little girl who truly had no power in that courtroom? She's now meeting with lawyers, though, so now the ball is in very much her court, and he's been removed from the docket, and, he's getting death threats, he says. So very much it seems the support is behind this young girl.
Well, we'll have to see where the story goes. Please keep us updated.
I will.
As further developments. Now, Lizzie, please, you have to do this. You're headed into the DNC. I need you to promise us that you will be extremely careful. These Democrats in Chicago, they have a history, and it's not a good history.
I know, 1968.
Yes, these people, when they say mostly peaceful, the rest of it, that they're not mostly peaceful, it can get ugly. So just be very careful and have fun.
Thank you.
And get us some good audio.
Yeah,
Lizzie.
I'm kind of hoping for a madhouse so I could get some good content,
Okay, you be careful, Lizzie.
I will.
Catch up with you in the week.
Take care, Bo.
Alrighty. On this day, my friends, in 1960, English songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, record producer Stuart Matthew Amen was born. Guitarist, saxophonist with Sade. Also, he's a member of Sweetback. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Your call's coming up 800-848-9222. Keep it right here.
Round and round and round my head, touching the very part of me. It's making my soul sing, tearing the very heart of me. I'm crying out for more. Your love is king.
This is the James Golden Show. James Golden Show. 4 words that mean business with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Yeah, you know what? Nile Rodgers in the game. Bernard Edwards, all these guys in Chic went to number 1 on this day, actually tomorrow, August 18th. She goes to number 1 with this one, which was, of course, the song underneath the Sugar Hill Gang when they did, what was the name of that record? Come on, Sugar Hill Gang. The first rap song that really took off. Hotel, Motel, Holiday Inn. Yeah. That's the only line I remember out of it.
Really? The next line's better.
Yeah, I know. Well, the next line is not better. Yeah. Anyway, she goes to number 1 on this weekend, the anniversary. Yeah. Okay, here's the story that we've been promising, and you may know about some of it already. The Supreme Court, on vacation, ruled that the Biden administration's emergency request to enforce portions of their new rules that would totally turn Title IX upside down and would have legally permitted biological men to go inside women's bathrooms. Supreme Court, 5-4. They say 5-4. Well, that's because Justice Gorsuch voted with the 3 liberals on the court. More than 24 Republican attorney generals had sued over the rule. They argued that it would conflict with their state laws. that blocked transgendered students from participating in women's sports. The Biden administration said that wasn't true, but nonetheless, the Supreme Court, on vacation, ruled no, this is not going to go into effect. The rule began on August 1st, and then there were these objections from the Attorney General, so the Supreme Court took an emergency ruling on it, and at least for the time being, Title IX will go on without. Now, I'm looking for the Reuters story on this, because the Reuters story on it, to me, is one of the clearest examples ever when you talk about biased headlines. And I'm going to see if I can find it really quick, because what they say in their headline is that the court has refused protections for LGBTQ children. And that's not at all what it did. The court is actually protecting children from being intruded upon with this ideology that allows boys to go into spaces that are reserved for girls. I'll find that headline during the course of it. I thought I had it. But of course, so many stories, so little time. We're going to go back to the telephones if I can see which caller to get to you. And let us go to Sandra in New Jersey. Sandra, you're up.
Oh, good morning, James. How are you? I hope well.
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, too. Thank you. You know, I was thinking about a few things. One, our country should
Let me ask you
a
question. Before you say you're thinking about a few things, if these few things are going to take more than a minute, I'm going to put you on hold.
I promise not.
Guess what? The music's playing. We'll be back. We'll pick up these few things from Sandra. We've got some other news coming up, too, so keep it right here. James Golden and Bo Snerdley with you. 800-848-9222. Coming right back. Stay with us.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
My friends, welcome. James Golden Snerdley with you for our Saturday morning vibe. Marvin Gaye brings us back in. This is, my friends, an important date of political history. On this day, August 17th, 1998, Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, gave grand jury testimony via closed-circuit television from the White House. The topic, Monica Lewinsky. The president, during that grand jury testimony, admitted that he had lied when he waved that bony little finger to America and said, "I did not have sexual relationships with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. Now let me get back doing the work of the American people." Turns out, he did have relations with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. He said that night on television when he addressed America after he admitted that he had been dorking the intern, that he was wrong. But he also used the occasion to say, "But I didn't commit perjury when I when I said I wasn't having sex with that woman." The House of Representatives then, after a short period of time, impeached Bill Clinton. He was saved from being convicted by the late Republican senator, who later turned Democrat, Arlen Specter, who cited Scottish law as the reason that he would not convict Bill Clinton, who had committed perjury under oath. But anyway, after all is said is done, America had a new word added to its long list of verbs. A Lewinsky has now become a verb in many households across this great nation. Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky in the news on this day in 1998. Let's go back to New Jersey and Sandra with James Golden on our Saturday Vibe. Good morning again, Sandra. Now we have a little bit more time. How are you?
Thank you, James. Good morning to you. James, you know, I was thinking that from the bottom of my heart, we should be looking at this country as a business. Now, I was a recruiter, an executive recruiter in accounting and finance, and I honestly will say that if I will look at these two resumes, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris has a lovely background, but unfortunately I would put her resume on the side because she doesn't qualify to have, doesn't have the experience in the inflation and government spending. She has other qualities that are very nice, but for this job, Donald Trump is a millionaire turned billionaire CEO. He has a proven record of success running this country, and the federal government right now is outspending, and that's the cause of this inflation. And even Elon Musk said the same thing, that this inflation is like a form of taxation. So, look, as a recruiter, like I said, Kamala has a lovely background, but not for this job. That's the first thing I wanted to say.
Well, number one, I don't think she has all that lovely of a background.
Well,
you tell me one time. Wait, you tell me one time that Kamala Harris has met payroll anywhere. Does she even know what the term meeting payroll means?
James, I'm going to be nice here and say, look, she did some nice. She got a job as a prosecutor. She refused to release innocent men who were wrongly convicted on her watch. She held them up from, and it's not just one. I did the story of one of those guys, wrongly convicted, framed by police in San Francisco. And she laughed in his face right after the sentence, and then blocked him getting out of jail. He was eventually exonerated, and the state had to pay him 13 point some odd million dollars. The rightful he was wrongfully convicted of murder. The real murderer was never found. And that's not the only case where Kamala Harris, during her tenure as district attorney in San Francisco, has been accused of locking up people who were actually innocent. So, I mean, look, now you might say that happens, and it wasn't the prosecutor's fault. Well, okay, but once there is evidence that a person has been wrongly convicted,
the prosecutor should take the lead in saying, I want this person released. And that did not happen. So I look at her tenure as a prosecutor in San Francisco as being dubious. I don't know whether that's a plus or a minus. Go ahead.
Well, I'm glad you said all that stuff because I didn't want to do it this morning, but you did it for me. And plus, you also worked for McDonald's. I don't know if that qualifies for, business expertise. But so that's on her.
She worked for McDonald's, flipping burgers when she was a teenager?
I know.
No, not that there's anything wrong with that. Hold on. There's nothing wrong with that. McDonald's is a great entry-level job, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea that I'm somehow or another looking down my nose at people that flip burgers, because any honest work, and this is what I was taught as a child, any honest work, as long as it's an honest job, and you're not out stealing, robbing, looting, doing whatever. If you are working and you're honestly working for your paycheck, it's an honorable job. But I'm saying, even if that's the case, if she worked in that capacity, what does she know about the struggles of American businesses? And I'm asking that question for a very simple reason. This woman is today and this weekend, she has been saying the number one thing she's going to do when she comes to office, day one, is stop these evil corporations from price gouging Americans. That is even being met with resistance in the mainstream press. I can go through some of the stories, and I'll go through some of them later. AP today, Associated Press. What is gouging? And why is VP Harris proposing to ban it? Another one. Voter-friendly CNN anchor says Harris' speech is a masterclass in keeping the details incredibly light. We have the audio from that. We'll get to that. Another one. Harris skewered for day one promise to bring down prices. What have you been doing the last 4 years? Larry Kudlow has spoken out on it, among others. Every economist of note. You even have a Washington Post columnist who is calling out her on this nonsensical proposal that somehow or another she's going to single-handedly bring down prices. And again, this is blaming hardworking Americans for the problems that she and the government have created. These people didn't decide to just raise prices on groceries or other items willy-nilly. It's because of the economic circumstances that were created by the Biden administration. But she's blaming them. She's accusing them of being unethical and saying she's going to combat them. This is just not, it's insulting. It is misguided. It shows an incredible ignorance about the way that the economy works. And that's why I ask, has this woman ever spent a day understanding what it takes to run a real business?
You agree with me. Her resume goes on the side. It doesn't belong in this job to run a country. I'm sorry. Her resume doesn't qualify for this job. And I think
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Her foreign policy experience is all but non-existent. You know, I used to think that, and I still do think that we spend a lot of time, people haven't traveled a lot. Well, then they don't know. One thing about traveling, when you do go to other countries, you actually see things. I had a private call from a friend of mine who just came back from Europe. He's been through Europe. He's been through Asia, whatever. And he said, one of the things he noticed in Europe was the difference between the way that European food is marketed and the way that American food is marketed, that they have much healthier food and they don't. And I told him when I came back from Europe, I had the exact same impression that he had. One of the things that traveling does is give you a different perspective, especially if you're a person that's imbued and you want to know about history. Kamala Harris came into the vice president having never even been to Europe, never being. She does look. This is a woman that won't even go to our own southern border, let alone cross the border to go overseas. What kind of foreign experience? What is her worldview? We don't know. What is her guiding economic view underneath these absurd policies that she's bringing up? We don't know. What we do know is that the things that she was tasked with, bringing some order to the southern border, she has absolutely failed in. And for that reason alone, for her track record, never mind her resume, for her track record as vice president, she should never be elevated into the presidency of the United States. Give your last word, Sandra. Okay.
Okay, I love you for saying all this good stuff. Also, Kamala Harris, to say her name incorrectly, that's not fair. When Vivek, I can't even say his name, Ramaswamy, when we said his name wrong, he laughed, he made a joke about it. He never took it as a racial thing. I just wanted to bring that up, too.
Well, thank you. Everything is racial to Democrats. And you see these Democrats go on, oh, white supremacist, you're a racist, it's absurd. It's not a name that comes off the lips of every single American if you look at it phonetically. So, okay, Kamala. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Sometimes because I got so used to saying it. Not Kamala. Kamala. Anyway. Thank you for the call. Eric in Stony Point, you're up next. How are you? Let's go to Viviana in Brooklyn. How are you, Viviana?
Good morning. I am enjoying your show as always, Bo. I was thinking about how you began the show and especially talking about the danger that's probably lurking in Chicago for this DNC. And I believe, like you do, that we, the people of the United States who love our nation, are facing a moment of truth. And if we don't wake up and we don't allow the press to brainwash us and expose us to lies, we're going to be in a mess of trouble. I was thinking about the rule of law that's been so compromised by these Soros DAs that right now they can't, the left, communist, Marxist, socialist people cannot even control their own quote-unquote attack dogs. After the 2020 summer of mayhem, they have created this whole thing that they can do whatever the campuses with the anti, and I'm not going to say pro whatever. No, it's anti-Israeli, anti-Semitism. And we at both.
Your line is going in and out. Viviana, your line is going in and out, so I'm not really sure what's up with that. We got to stop down for a break anyway, but look, I'm going to address some of these issues. You're serious. You're playing some miles. You're serious. Viviana, thank you very much for the call. I'm like, really? We have that in the library. That's amazing. My friends, on this day in 1959, Miles Davis, American jazz trumpeter, released Kind of Blue. Regarded by many critics as the greatest record in jazz history. Certainly one of the best albums of all time. Its influence on music, rock, jazz, classical even, has led writers to deem it one of the most influential albums ever. Kind of Blue, released this day on 1959. And that, to me, he did it again with the birth of the cool, which is amazing. But Miles Davis set new ground in American music, the landscape of American music, this day, 1959. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Keep it right here, 800-848-9222.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Careless Whisper. Tomorrow's the anniversary of Michael going number one with this one. George Mitchell, the first person to go number one as a solo artist and a member of the band, of course, Wham! In the same year. One of his greatest records. So many people have covered it, but the original is still so awesome. George Michael, Careless Whisper, goes to number one, 1984, on this weekend. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you. The Saturday Vibe continues here. Before we go further, since time is going by, let's hit that Carville quote. The James Carville. Folks, you talk about race being everything. This is, to me, is still stunning. And some of the things that come out of the Democrats' mouths. Serpent Head, James Carville in particular. If we can't find it now, we'll just do it next hour. You should listen to James Carville. We will hear James Carville explain why Republicans support Israel. It is one of the most it'll speak for itself. We'll deal with that. In the meantime, some of the other stories that we have to deal with. Californians, the majority of them, support harsher penalties for theft, for drug possession. About 56 of them agree with a new ballot measure out there, Proposition 36, to make it a felony for theft, even if it's under $950, instead of a misdemeanor, if that person has 2 or more previous theft-related charges. California has seen a 29% increase in retail theft, 121% increase in fentanyl overdoses between 2019 and 2021. All of that is happening, and yet Governor Newsom and the Democrats are opposed to this measure. They just yesterday signed into a watered-down version, which they hope will help people to defeat this measure that would bring stricter penalties for theft and for drug crimes. Newsom said yesterday when they passed down a watered-down bill that he doesn't want California going back to the 80s and the war on drugs. It's about mass incarceration. I don't want us to move backwards. In other words, the governor of the state doesn't want more people in jail for committing these serious crimes. How long is that Carville bite?
2 minutes.
We don't have time. We'll do it when we get back. We have it. When we get back, you have to listen to this explanation from Serpent Head, James Carville, as to why those of you who support Israel, what's really behind your support of Israel. He thinks he knows the answer. Why, if you support Israel, that you support Israel, I think it will astound you if you have not heard it. Well, that's it for our number duo. Our number trio is coming up. We will talk more about Kamala and her plans. We will take more of your telephone calls. We will hear from America's small caffeinated mom in an abbreviated form this week, Rhonda Schrock. Keep it right here. James Golden, Bo Snerdley.
The James Golden Show is on the air with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
My friends, to our number trio. How quickly the time passes. If you would like to participate in this, our last hour of the program for this morning, this Saturday vibe, give us a call at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Now, before we left, I promised you a James Carville bite from earlier in the week of how he views you. Those of you, and there are many in this audience, who support the nation of Israel. James Carville thinks he knows why you support Israel. Let's listen to James Carville explain you to you.
James, next, Rob in Charlotte, North Carolina.
He's on with Al Hunt.
Good question. Says the Republicans have openly embraced the alt-right and some neo-Nazis, and I'm curious, isn't it incongruous that they also portray themselves as the most pro-Israel party?
Oh, well, how do I get started here? That is all background. Again, as I said earlier, it's really about the misogyny and the racism that drives the thing. We got to recognize that. It's not about a policy prescription. And the reason I suspect that most of these people describe themselves as pro-Israel because the Jews are whiter than the Palestinians, which I think drives a lot of what they are. And the other thing that I would comment politically on, and there's a huge Palestinian community right outside of Chicago. Obviously, Michigan is the sort of swing area. And my favorite comment to come out of this movement, these protests, which I think certainly if I were, I'm troubled by some of this stuff I see. I'll be honest with you, I'm not remotely Palestinian. But they asked him, why do Trump is even more radical or anti-Palestine than whatever you think that President Biden or Vice President Harris is. Why don't you protest him? They said, because we wouldn't have any influence with them. So the reason that they say we targeted Democrats because we think they would be more open-minded about this. But we're not going to do anything to the Republicans because they're not even, we're not having any influence. Well, that's just some dumbass political shit. All right?
We got a language problem.
You're going to hurt the person.
We got language problem
that actually has the best chance
of
resolving this issue in a satisfactory way because you can't influence the other person. I don't get the logic.
We have enough now. We have enough now. Don't. Thank you. Because we heard enough just before. James Carville, ladies and gentlemen, we bleeped it out, uttered a profanity that we would not want your ears to hear. But the reason, understand that those of you who support Israel, y'all support Israel, it's just because it's all tied up in the misogyny and all tied up in the racist thing, because that's all we got. Democrats got. Everything Republicans do is simply because y'all people don't like women. Even y'all women don't like women. Okay, you hear me? Even Republican women don't like women. They're anti-women. Republican women are anti-women. And they're racist. Okay, and the reason that y'all Republicans support it don't have nothing to do with your biblical view of the world, don't have nothing to do with any of that. It don't have nothing to do with any of that. What it had reason to do with the reason y'all support Israel is because y'all think that the Jews are white. They're whiter than the Palestinians. And y'all support the white people because y'all a bunch of racists. Y'all just support white. Y'all see white and y'all support white. The Jews are white. And the Palestinians, they less white. And so that's the reason. That right there is the reason that Republicans support Israel. That it. Because y'all Republicans, they don't like women and they don't like anything that ain't white. And they think that the Jews are white and the Palestinians, they're less white. So they go with the more white than the less white. That's James Carville's logic as to why you support Israel. The Jews are more white. Y'all think the Jews are more white. And y'all just a bunch of misogynist racists. That's serpent head. Race. Which we can never get away from speaking with Democrats or about Democrats. Earlier in the program, we played the meltdown on CNN because somebody mispronounced Kamala's name. A few weeks ago, I played the soundbite of Kamala Harris coming out of a record store. It was a manufactured appeal to black voters. She comes out of a record store. She says, she's some little supposed to be reporter at, I don't even know whether it was a reporter, waiting outside with the microphone. When Kamala Harris walks out, what did you get? What did you get? She says, she says, do you know music? Do you know music? I got Roy Ayers, one of the greatest records of all time. Always been my favorite. But I've never bought it up till now. The record was only out since the 1970s. I never bought it up until now. You know Roy, Everybody Loved the Sunshine? Oh, great record. Great record. I got Charlie Mingus. Oh, you don't know Charlie Mingus? He's really great in jazz. And I got Porgy and Bess. Just to round it out. See, I like black music. I'm Kamala, by the way. I'm Kamala Harris. I know black music. Well, at the time that this pandering came out, Ava, I got bad news. I got people telling me they heard that word that James Carville used. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the profanity that came out of James Carville's mouth. Direct your anger, your ire, your frustrations to Suppenhead for using the bad language. We tried to beep it. Anyway, where was I? Yes, I was with Kamala Harris faking that she knows black music. So she goes into a record store to buy Roy Ayers 30 years after the record comes out. She goes in to buy Porgy and Bess 50 years after that record came out. Dates are approximate. Don't take me 100% on the dates. And she goes in to buy Charlie Mingus, who she knows is a jazz giant. And at the time, I said, what's next? She going to pull a Hillary on us and tell us that she likes hot sauce, too? And remember when Hillary went on with Charlemagne da God? And then, I have hot sauce in my pocketbook. See? I like black people. I have hot sauce. I have hot sauce. I forgot the watermelon and the fried chicken, but I have hot sauce. I usually carry watermelon in my bag, too. A slice. And I like watermelon juice. And fried chicken. Why, Bill and I used to eat fried chicken every day when we were in Arkansas. Love me some fried chicken. Hillary Clinton. I could just see her now ordering the servants. Hello, Miss Clinton. What would you? I'd like a mint julep. Do you have a mint julep? And by the way, aren't you supposed to be picking cotton somewhere? Would you stop picking cotton and get me a mint julep? I have hot sauce in my bag. I'm black. I like black people. Black people, you do like hot sauce, don't you? See? Vote for me. I have hot sauce in my pocketbook. At the time, I said, that's what Kamala reminded me of, Hillary Clinton. Well, Kamala and her vice president had a conversation. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, the conversation revolved around hot food. This is what that sounded like.
Like I have white guy tacos and
what does
like
that
black,
mean? Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's
and
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota, you know.
I'm the first vice president, I believe, who has ever grown chili peppers.
I'm trying to expand my food knowledge.
You know what? We've got some cantaloupes. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. I'm black round 2. Got Tim Walz playing the minstrel white guy. Oh, I like white people food. I just like the beef. At least I like the beef and the cheese tacos. But do you have any spice on it? Well, no. I'm white. We white people, we don't like spice. That's you black people. Well, yes, I'm the first vice president ever that grew chili peppers. See, Hillary Clinton carries the hot sauce in her bag, but I'm better than Hillary. I actually grow my own hot peppers. See, I'm really, really, really black. This is pathetic. It's disgusting. It is pandering to a level that is, to me, almost unconscionable. I don't know who's... And now, see, here's the trick bag. If Donald Trump, any of you white folks out there, ever say anything about this, it's like calling her a DEI hire. Now, Joe Biden can stand up, and he did in May of this year, and say that his administration supports DEI. I've read the statement numerous times. And he said, Biden, the one that they threw under the bus, he said, Kamala Harris is the top person with regard to that. He called her a DEI hire in so many words, but if you do it, you a racist. If you point out this race pandering that these people are doing, you're a racist. But they can do it all they want to, and you're not supposed to comment on it. I am going to comment on it anyway. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you here, 1968. The Rascals go to number 1 on the U.S. single charts with this one. People got to be free. Rascals, 13 hits in the top 40 during their run. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you here, 800-848-9222.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Sad anniversary of music history. On this day, 1973, Paul Williams, one of the original Temptations, and used to share the lead with, and from time to time, with David Ruffin and Eddie Kendricks. Paul Williams was found dead in his car. He had committed suicide, owed $80,000 in taxes. He had a boutique, a celebrity boutique business that had failed, and I guess sadly saw no way out. The music lives on. The Temptations, Paul Williams. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. Let's head back to the telephones. John in New Jersey has been waiting quite some time. John, welcome. How are you this morning?
Thank you for taking my call. It's always a fresh breath of air listening to your comments and taking care of, the American people. So my comment is we have this bureaucratic establishment that's kind of corrupt, and I'm just wanting to know if there's any power in the people aside from voting them out of office that can, curtail their entitlements or the way their entitlements are, and also, the limits for them to be in office. Is there anything that we can do aside from that? Because, they seem to have their own little party going on up there, and they just don't want to care to take care of the American public in general. So I'm just wondering if there's anything that we can do.
Yes. And here's the thing, and you may not like my answer, because you said vote them out of office. Well, how does that happen? One of the things that the Democrats have done very effectively, my friends, is they have organized, and I hearken back, and I will always remember this. Remember when Obama was elected president, and Republicans would laugh, some Republicans would laugh themselves silly. Why, he doesn't belong in he doesn't belong in the White House. He's community organizer. Organizer, Rich. How does the guy go from community organizer to become the president? Community organizer. And therein was how he got in the White House. Organizing communities. And establishing that base to then run for his local legislative office in Illinois, in the state legislature, which, by the way, you go through that history, it's interesting how he muscled his way into that. And then later on, deciding that he wanted to elevate himself into higher office. But the Democrat Party is organized, and organized to such an extent that I think most Republicans don't even understand the depth of their organizational prowess. They have NGOs, non-governmental agencies, that do their bidding. They have a nonprofit sector that they milk with taxpayer money. And those people can be counted on. They have unions that are highly organized. You look at the money the UAW is pouring into Kamala Harris's run right now. They have an entire legislative shadow judiciary set up with groups like Southern Poverty Law and all the rest of it that do their bidding. They have organizations in almost every single vertical of American industry, be it the tech, be it education. When it is time to make a move, they mobilize on many different areas. Republicans are so much less organized from the street level all the way through. The things that you want to happen do not happen in a vacuum. They happen because of political organization from the ground up. And that is what Democrats excel in. We need to understand on a much deeper level than we do how the day-to-day politics, the business of politics, really works. And that is the answer to achieving the victories that you want politically. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Keep it right here. Coming back in a moment.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Born on this day, heavenly birthday for Marvin Isley. Marvin Isley, one of the Isley brothers. The Isley brothers have been around, of course, since the 1950s. 1959, this was their fourth single. No, their fourth single actually was Shout, and that tore the roof off. 1962, they released this one, Twist and Shout. Beatles did this as well, of course. 16 albums of the Isley brothers have charted in the top 40. Marvin passed away in 2010 of diabetes. The Isley brothers, Ronald Isley still making music. Ernie Isley still making music, guitar player. And Chris Jasper, who we have interviewed. Chris Jasper, just an amazing musician with the Isley brothers, still making music. Makes a lot of music geared toward his faith. We have to do some sound bites that I want to get to. But before I do this, we have a call from Denver that I'd like to take. Johnny in Denver, Colorado. How are you? Welcome. How are you this morning, Johnny?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Listening to you on KNUS, and then I switched from them to listen to you because I find you more interesting. It's so strange to me that because of the school system, a lot of the kids don't know that America was founded under the Judeo-Christian values. Doesn't mean Jesus, because this was before even Jesus. And the Bible definitely says if you're against the Jewish people, you're against him. And there will be a consequence of that. Because maybe there's so many atheists or they're worshiping the government, they think that, well, we can go against what we were founded and we can go another direction. And I have a feeling that America will learn the hard way with this anti-Semitic views that the Democrats have, that they were on the wrong side of history.
Well, let me respond to that. I think that, look, I don't want to, number one, I want to be very careful not to generalize everybody, for instance, that is protesting Gaza as being anti-Semitic. I am not denying what we see in front of us, that anti-Semitism is a huge issue for the left. It was an issue before this war in Gaza broke out. The Democrat Party, you remember years back, in their platform, removed references to God from their entire party platform based on the sort of anti-religious fervor that has taken over in some quarters of the Democrat Party. I also think that you have to give people at least a benefit of a doubt when it comes to opposition to government politics, regardless of what that government is. That is to say that the government of Israel, because, and I support Israel, and Yes. But does that mean that everything that the government of Israel does is correct? No. Everything that any government does is subject to criticism. Because human beings, we all are flawed, and our governments all have flaws, no matter who they are, no matter what government it is. So those are caveats that I would make. But this anti-Semitism that we see raging in the left is based on hatred. The anti-Semitism that goes back in this world, and we're talking now, we're talking so many generations. We're talking, you go back, I mentioned the Magna Carta earlier. Even going back into early English history, there was a period when the Jews were expelled from England. You look at what happened in, of course, Nazi Germany. You look at what is happening across Europe today. This problem of anti-Semitism, like problems of racism, run deep in the human current. I made mention of the fact a few weeks ago that even if you look at homogeneous societies, you go back and you look at Japanese history, you go back and you look at Chinese history, you go back and you look at the history of India, even when societies have been largely homogeneous, human beings find a way to discriminate against each other. When everybody comes from the same ethnicity, then the discrimination is turned to in terms of class. Well, you belong to the underclass. You're an untouchable. You're beneath me. I'm superior to you. This human condition is something that is wired into human DNA that we as human beings have to be aware of and fight against. This idea that somehow we are superior to other people. And it is something to be on guard on for all of us in our lives. I thank you so much for the call, Johnny. Thank you very much. I mentioned some sound bites. Let's go through some of them quickly. Kamala Harris did a speech yesterday on her supposed plan to revitalize the economy. We know that she wants to single out people and call them greedy and stop price gouging, whatever that is. Still undefined. What is it exactly? Who does it? CNN, listen to this analysis, praising her for not coming forth with the details.
I think this was a masterclass in sticking to the script, keeping things very voter-friendly, keeping the details incredibly light, and not talking about how you have to pay for it all. If Donald Trump is sort of Harry Potter in terms of the magician for his policies, this was a bit Hermione Granger. It wasn't even just about not paying for it. She said she was going to reduce the deficit despite all these giveaways as well. And I understand that's politics at this moment, but I think your point is so accurate when she was talking about all of the things that are impacting people, whether it's high prices, and we know prices have soared over this administration, unaffordability crisis in housing. I mean, house prices, the median house price is up 20% over the past 3 years. So she did a great job, I think, of changing the narrative, which is reflected so poorly on President Biden, to try and make it more optimistic about what she's going to do. Just to give you a snapshot of some of the things that she said in the price gouging comments, I just don't know how that federal ban is going to work. If they're talking about directly targeting prices, it will require some form of act of Congress. Isolating how and where price gouging is taking place is very difficult. She talked about the profits of grocery stores. Their margins are incredibly thin. For every dollar sale, they make profits of around 1 to 3 cents. Just try proving that their price gouging is going to be incredibly difficult beyond anything else. On housing, she said at the end of her first term, she hopes to have those 3 million houses built. But in order to do that, a lot of these home builders, and they are saying that they'll provide incentives, they're going to have to borrow money, and we know interest rates are really high. So a lot of that's going to depend on mortgage rates coming down, which could end up fueling house prices even higher if people start buying. But also home builders are going to want to be able to borrow at lower rates as well. I mean, I can pick out a whole host of other things where the devil's going to be in the detail, and it's all going to be about the execution. But I will say very quickly, I like the way that she compared and contrasted with Trump over what his impact will be. And I have to say it's inflationary in many of these cases.
That is. Yeah. So in other words, she did a great job of putting the smoke, pulling the wool over people's eyes because there are no details here. But she did a great job of doing that. Let's check in with economist and Red Apple Media star Larry Kudlow and listen to what Larry Kudlow has to say about Kamala's non-detailed plan to wave a magic wand and fix the economy.
Good evening, Larry. I can imagine your take, but let me
He was on Fox.
Well, thanks for having me, Brett. I appreciate it. Look, this is price controls by any other name. I mean, it's like a sheep in sheep's clothing. It's price controls because it's price controls. But here's the thing. I mean, we know how bad that turned out for Nixon. Price controls never worked in Russia, Soviet Union, Venezuela, Cuba. They never worked. They cause shortages. They cause black markets. And eventually, they cause higher prices because the controls are lifted because people are yelling about shortages. But no one really knows what she means by price gouging. There's no definition. There's a lot of blah, blah, blah in their announcement about rules and the Federal Trade Commission. Well, the Federal Trade Commission has tried a bunch of cases about price gouging or so-called corporate greed, and they've lost them all over the past 3.5 years. And one more thing. I was looking, Ms. Harris is yelling about beef producers, I guess, and poultry producers and grocery stores. So I looked at their corporate margins. Are they making any money? Yeah. I mean, if they're gouging somebody, Brett, they must be enormously profitable, and they are not, okay? The grocery stores, profit margins, 1.2%. Meat, beef, and poultry, 4.7%. All of American business, 8.5%. Look, if she wants to go after somebody for making too much money,
go after the government.
Here's what: Apple 26%, Microsoft 36%, Nvidia 53%. You see where I'm going on this? There's no case to be made. No one knows what it is, but it's bad. If it ever worked, it would be bad.
Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been saying some of the same things all week long. I'm glad to hear Larry Kudlow agree with me. And, of course, I agree with Larry Kudlow. Larry Kudlow is just genius. He's been doing this a long time. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to deal with more truth from America's Small Caffeinated Mom and your phone calls. Another little bit from the Isley Brothers here. One of my favorites, Ernie Isley on guitar. The Isley Brothers, all 6 of the Isley Brothers. On this one, That Lady. James Golden and Bo Snerdley with you here. Keep it right here and don't you dare go away.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
A birthday tomorrow, Barbara Harris with The Toys. And, of course, their big one from 1965. A Lover's Concerto. Never get tired of hearing this one. Of course, classical music underneath it. Let's check in with America's small caffeinated mom. This one, she's not with us live this week, folks. She's out being a dutiful mother and wife. And we just love that, don't we? But anyway, Rhonda Schrock does grace us with a brief appearance this morning.
Good morning, James, and good morning to all of our listeners. I'm so sorry that I can't be here in person this morning, but all of you came to my mind as I was just working here in my quiet country home. And I wanted to share a little message with you while I'm out cheering a kid in bright yellow sneakers on the cross-country course this morning. I was thinking today about the importance of truth. In this day and age in which we're living, artificial intelligence is becoming more and more of a presence in our lives. What artificial intelligence does is it alters reality. It blurs out edges, it inserts things, it takes out things, and the end result is not an accurate representation. It isn't true. It is not the bald-faced lies, the big, blatant floppers or fibs, as we called them when we were kids, that get us in trouble. It is the half-truths. It is the blurring of edges, the removing of certain details, the addition of other details that distort reality and truth just enough to lead us astray. In my life and experience, it has been the subtle shifts away from truth that have got me into trouble. If you are traveling and you enter an address in your GPS, if you enter one digit wrong or one letter wrong, it can take you to a place you weren't intending to go. It can alter your final destination. If you change by just a few degrees, again, you will end up where you hadn't planned to go. How do we know in this day and age of so much shouting of full lies and half lies, what is true? There is an objective standard and measurement of truth by which we can judge and gauge everything in this world, and that truth has its source and origin in the divine. We must walk in it, walk with it, embrace it, know it intimately. Just as a banker must be acquainted with the feel of regular money, real, genuine bills, he or she will know a counterfeit as soon as it comes through his or her fingers. It is like that with truth. We must be so acquainted with truth, with its author, with its source, that we can instantly detect even the hint of the untrue. It is knowing the truth that will keep us and keep us safe and guard us in these perilous times. The onslaught of lies can wear us down and make us weary. We don't have to stay there. We can embrace the truth, as I have said, follow it, and we can walk then, as I do right now, in peace, in wisdom, in safety, and with so much joy and happiness. That's what I want for all of you. That's what I want for my sons. That's what I want for my country. Have a great week, everyone, and I will talk to you again soon.
Rhonda Schrock, America's small caffeinated mom. Usually with us, as I said, out attending to the business of being a mother and a wife these next few weeks. Let's head back to the telephone, shall we? Let's go to Los Angeles and Ronnie. Ronnie, you're up next. How are you?
I'm fine, James. Diddlehead forever. How are you?
Thank you.
But I'm loving you, too. James, I would wish that Trump will call her out, Kamala, during this debate. Now, do you recall George Bush saying he doesn't care who gets the credit as long as it's done?
Ronald Reagan as well. That was a Ronald Reagan original. Yep.
Okay, so he can start out by just saying, listen, Kamala, I'm glad you've come along on my side of thinking in terms of what's best for the American people. I'll let you have it. I'll give you the credit if today, tomorrow, you will go back to the White House because Joe has already said he will sign any legislation revoking the taxes on tips. So if you could do that today, tomorrow, I will give you credit and say it was your idea. You could have that one.
I love that idea. I love that idea. Don't even wait don't wait. Let's do it now. If it's a good idea, we both agree on it, do it now. I don't need the credit. You take the credit.
Looking out for the American people. Okay, so here's another one, too. You know how she likes to brag about her brilliance as a attorney general? I would have him ask her, okay, you're so brilliant. I want to give you that credit as well. Tell me, what was I convicted for?
Oops. That would leave her with an endless word salad that would be fun to listen to.
So
These are great ideas, Ronnie.
I know. Don't you think they should be calling me for ideas? I have so many. And then
I do think they should be. And you should be calling me. Let's go. What's the last one?
The last one, when she tries to call him, and she has already done it, about him, I know your type. Well, we know her type, too, because Willie has said it, right? So we can shut her down on that as well. Let's not even get into that.
Knee pad discussions might not work out so well in the debate, but I hear you. Let me ask you a quick question. Karen Bass, your mayor out there in Los Angeles, says that when the Olympics come in 2028 to you, she's not going to have any cars. Can I ask you how the criminals in L.A. are going to get around to rob the tourists and everyone else if they don't have cars?
Well, it's going to be simple. I mean, they'll just walk up to them. Everybody's
going
to be out. They don't have to worry about getting away, do they? They don't have to worry about getting away.
L.A. has a subway. L.A. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I want, the L.A. subway. Anyway.
Yes, I have many ideals for Trump, so I wish they would call me. I would love to be one of his advisors.
Wonderful, Ronnie. If I ever get a chance, I'll pass that along to them, but they're kind of tight. Oh, man, we have so many great calls we won't have a chance to get to this week. But we're here every Saturday, God willing. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. Tell your friends about this show. God willing, we're back next Saturday, same time, same place. Until then, I bid you adieu.